Topic 2.1 Interaction of Heredity and Environment. A Tale of Twins, exploring the landscape of heredity and environment. Once upon a time, in a small yet vibrant town, two sets of twins lived, one identical, monozygotic, and one fraternal, dizygotic. Identical twins, Aiden and Jaden, shared all their genetic material, a gift from the precise orchestration of DNA, the blueprint of life in their chromosomes. This setting was a live showcase of biological psychology, demonstrating how their nearly identical genetic setup led to remarkably similar physical appearances and psychological tendencies. On the other side of town lived Emily and Emma, the fraternal twins. Sharing only half of their genetic material, they were akin to regular siblings. They cherished their differences, a testament to the richness induced by genetic variations, tiny DNA segments dictating their individual traits and characteristics. As the twins grew, life offered a real-world stage for behavior genetics to demonstrate how heredity and environment intertwine in shaping behaviors and personalities. Aiden developed a love for painting, a flair that mirrored Jaden's. Their individual canvases reflected similar creativity strokes, perhaps a silent song sung by their shared genetic setup. Meanwhile, Emily embraced the violin, while Emma danced gracefully, each expressing themselves in harmoniously different ways, a testimony to the diversity resulting from different gene combinations. But the story evolved as environment, the silent player, began to shape their paths diversely. The twins' parents nurtured Aiden and Jaden's artistic inclinations, yet their school environment, rich with opportunities, guided them into different realms. Aiden found peace in solitary painting, while Jaden excelled in theater, guided by environmental influences nurturing their inherent genetic potentials in different directions. Emily and Emma, with distinct genetic starting points, ventured on even more diverse journeys. Emma embraced nature, volunteering in animal shelters, while Emily connected with people through her music, her empathy resonating in the halls of diverse experiences. Entering adulthood, the twins exhibited an intricate dance of heredity and environment. Epigenetics whispered secrets, showing that experiences could alter gene expression, adding layers of complexity to their genetic canvases. Their individual paths were marked with personal growth, experiences, and learning, reflecting the evolutionary psychology principles that echoed the survival and adaptation narratives of their forefathers. They understood that their traits underwent natural selection, a process favoring beneficial characteristics for survival, passed down through generations via resilient DNA threads. In the life symphony, they met the unpredictable event of mutations, spontaneous changes in their genetic codes, bringing unforeseen turns in their life stories, adding vibrant hues to their evolving life tapestries. As their stories unfolded, the twins embraced that life wasn't a static canvas drawn by genes, but a dynamic painting shaped by environment. They were products of a continuous dance between gene choreography and environmental touch, their lives a ballet of interaction, where heredity and environment spun in a delicate weave, crafting the rich, multifaceted tapestries of their lives. Topic 2.1 Interaction of Heredity and Environment. 2a Why are heredity, environment, and evolution important in psychology? Psychology tries to understand how people think, feel, and act. To do this, we need to look at different things. Heredity, the traits we inherit from our parents through genes. Environment, the places and situations we are in every day. And evolution, how humans have changed over many generations. Psychologists want to know how these three things work together to shape our behavior. This helps in understanding people better and finding ways to help them in education, therapy, and other areas. 2b, what did Charles Darwin discover and how does it help in psychology? Charles Darwin was a scientist who introduced the idea of natural selection. This means that traits helping individuals to survive and have children are more likely to be passed down to the next generation. This idea is not just about physical traits, but also about how we think and behave. In psychology, we use Darwin's ideas to understand why we behave in certain ways today. Maybe a behavior helped our ancestors survive, and that's why it's still found in people today. This approach to psychology is called evolutionary psychology. It helps in understanding why different people think and act differently based on their inherited traits and the environment they are in. 2C. How are useful traits and behaviors chosen through adaptation? Traits and behaviors that help people survive and have children are more likely to continue in future generations. This idea comes from Darwin's theory of natural selection. In psychology, we also consider a newer area of study called epigenetics. This is how the environment can change the way genes work without changing the genes themselves. For example, stress in a person's life can sometimes change how that person's genes work, and this can affect their health or behavior. Understanding both natural selection and epigenetics helps psychologists know why we behave in certain ways and how our behaviors have changed to help us live better in our environment. It shows that our behavior is influenced by a mix of our genes and our experiences. This knowledge can be useful in therapy, helping people to learn new behaviors that are better suited to today's world. Biological basics. In this topic, we'll talk about how the outside world or the environment affects us. The environment includes everything around us, and it can shape our beliefs, including what we think about religion and politics. Next, let's talk about what is inside every cell in our body, chromosomes. We have 46 of them in each cell, grouped into 23 pairs. These structures are made from a special material called DNA, and they hold our genes. We're going to learn more about genes in this chapter. Our genes can be active or inactive, and what they do change based on where we are and what is happening around us. Genome means all the genes that make a living thing. Heredity and environment. Psychologists often discuss a big issue, nature versus nurture. This means asking whether our genetics, nature, or our experiences, nurture, shape who we are more. Let's break down the ways psychologists try to answer this question. Biological psychologists study how biological factors like genes and brain cells affect our thoughts and behavior. Behavior geneticists examine how much our genes and environment affect our behavior. They study things like mutations, chromosomes, and DNA to understand tiny differences in people. Twin and adoption studies. Studies of identical and fraternal twins help to understand the influence of genetics environment. Identical, monozygotic twins come from the same egg and share a lot of genetic material. They can have small differences due to different numbers of gene copies and different experiences before birth. A famous study showed that genetics strongly affect IQ, but environment matters too. Fraternal, dizygotic twins come from different eggs and have less genetic similarity. Heritability, it helps us know how much genetics explain differences between people. It does not tell how much of a trait is inherited. It explains the differences due to genetic factors. Molecular geneticists, they study the detailed structure and function of genes. They try to find specific genes that influence our behavior and traits. Epigenetics focus on how the environment can change the way our genes work without changing the DNA itself. Life experiences can add marks to our genes that change how they work, explaining why even people from the same family can be very different. And mutations, these are random errors in gene copying that create a change. We end like we start, with evolution. Evolutionary psychologists use natural selection ideas to understand behavior in the mind. This approach is based on the idea that we inherit traits that helped our ancestors survive and thus produce us. Charles Darwin is a key figure in this field, emphasizing the role of natural selection in evolution.